This is John Sanchez here. Just taking the dogs for a walk, doing another live video, talking about hemp, specifically hemp. Well, today I actually want to talk about the philosophy of cannabis. And it's kind of a concept that I am working on. And basically is that it's the less is more concept. So cannabis operates on this very interesting concept of less being more. So with nutrients, sometimes, especially, so let me give you a little bit of my background. I'm actually a cannabis farmer, a medical cannabis farmer here in New Mexico. I've been doing it for close to 6 years, helping patients get their medical cannabis grow set up and operating and at peak efficiency for them, especially dealing with people that are dealing with disabilities. It has to be at peak efficiency and easiest to use. In that process, we use a lot of bottled nutrients, a lot of chemical nutrients. Whether they're considered organic or not, there's still a lot of chemical nutrients. So most of the time on those bottles, they're actually going to be a much higher ratio of nutrient than what is necessary for the plant. That happens for a few reasons. One of which is they just have to sell nutrient. Another being that cannabis just doesn't need that much nutrients. It needs some. The most important thing though, the most important thing is not necessarily that it needs a lot of nutrients, but how biologically available those nutrients are through beneficial bacterias, mold, like beneficial funguses within your root zone. Because it's not the nutrients that are feeding the plant, it's the mycorrhizae and the microbiome that is within your root zone that is feeding the plant. What we're doing when we feed the plant, is we're feeding those mycorrhizae, and they release a more biologically available form of the nutrient. Some chemical nutrients avoid this process by making it just biologically available as it is. But making it biologically available, but of course chemical nutrients and phosphorus and that whole process, we're already seeing how destructive that is in California, especially with runoff from cannabis farms. Like, it's very destructive, the runoff from cannabis farms, and it's starting to affect natural wildlife and natural plant life. So it's definitely something that we need to address, and not using these heavy chemicals. But with hemp, we don't need to. Hemp and cannabis naturally grow well without these heavy chemicals. In fact, if we just used really good mycorrhizae and really paid attention to the biome within our root zone, we'll access a lot of those nutrients through the soil itself, especially if you're in the ground. But so less being more. You still want to not use the full allotment of nutrient, because often those chemical nutrients, they say that you're using almost twice as much as you need to in most cases. So you could dial it back a lot, and you'll see a huge difference in how much the plant is actually able to use the nutrient. But then more on less is more. So, like with the water I was talking about yesterday, with watering and letting it dry out completely, letting the plants completely dry out. So less water being more effective in that case. And then one other thing is the amount of plants one has. So this is actually something very interesting about indoor cultivation, is that let's look at just the normal like setup that somebody might have in their garage. We're looking at 4,000 watt lights. Most of the time you're doing about 12 plants under that. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. But so you have that many plants, you could actually get the same amount of weight from half of that, utilizing a scrog net and spreading out the canopy as far to the edges of the available light as possible. And so you could still get just as much weight, if not more. And it's all going to be bendable flower, really all the uniform size, because you're getting as much light into the depths of the plant as possible. That concept can be translated out into the field when dealing with hemp. So if you're growing for fiber or growing for biomass, yeah, you want to get as many plants out there as possible. But if you're going for CBD or smokable hemp flower, which is actually a really profitable thing right now, my mentor in this industry had mentioned that there's some really good smokable hemp flower right now that goes for about $1,300 to $1,600 a pound. Now that's a lot of money for some hemp flower. Not processed, just trimmed, dried, cured, done. That's a lot of money for that pound of hemp. So in the field, how can we make sure that we are growing the highest quality possible? Spend the time on each individual plant. Instead of growing 1,000 plants, why not grow 500? And spending more time with each individual plant. Pruning them, making sure there's no bugs, spending as much time individually as possible so that that plant can grow as good as it can. Look at him. Anyways. But it's also going to take less plants out of your field. You're going to make more money in the process. You're going to have more flower. Like, it's just a win-win situation. And oftentimes people want to just like throw as much as they can out into the field and see what sticks. But that might not be what's going to get you the most profitability. And especially people looking at this from a small farm or from their own home. How can you get involved? How can you start making money in this industry with the small space that you have? And that's spending the time understanding what's going on and growing good plants. Growing high quality flower that you can sell at a premium. This is the way things have been going for about 100 years when it comes to cannabis. We're just adapting it and bringing it into a legal marketplace. So if you have any questions on that process, definitely hit me a message, and we can definitely talk about what makes a plant in optimal health and how you can grow these plants in individual basis and still get the profit necessary for you guys to sustain yourselves. One of my goals with all of this that I'm doing is to make as many people as much money as I possibly can. Right now, the money's flowing. Right now, there's a lot of money in this industry and it's easy to acquire. That's not going to be that way forever. And over the course of the next couple years, people are really going to lose out. They're gonna have invested too much and lose money because they didn't account for scales of economy. There's a lot of factors. There's going to be a lot of failure rates this year, and I don't want that to happen. I want people to be as successful as they possibly can so they can make as much money as they possibly can. That's all. That's what I'm here for right now, is making everybody money. Let's live in prosperity. Let's push through this time of negativity and really enter prosperity. It's time for all of us, especially here in New Mexico, ourselves. We could use this, so it is time. I might have rambled a bit way too much. I don't know if any of it made any sense, but if it did, leave a message. Shoot me a line. Let's have a conversation. I actually do business consulting for hemp and cannabis industry. I do marketing, help growth consulting, and well, that's really what we really focus on, marketing and helping grow the business and grow the plant. So thank you for your time. I hope you guys have a beautiful afternoon. I hope this finds you well.